Yesterday, I spent over $5,000 on silver, but it's not just what's in this bag. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really glad I did. Because as you can see, silver has had a really good day today. I'm recording this Friday, August 22nd, but you can see on August 21st, spot price was around 38.20. 38.16 is what it's closed at. Today, it's up a full dollar almost, right now sitting at $39.15, which you can see right here on this chart at SD Bullion's website. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you everything I got and even tell you what everything cost. So let's get into it. So I picked up quite a few things yesterday, but I really wanted to start by looking at the 90% silver. And that's because this is the majority or the bulk of the silver that I bought. And I want to go through it and see if all of the weight's there and tell you what I paid per dollar and what that comes out to per ounce. So let's move this stuff out of the way. And now that all that other stuff is set aside, let's go ahead and dump out our bag of 90% silver. Now, what I actually paid for everything in this bag was about $3,000. So we have $3,000 in 90% silver here. And today it's worth maybe a little bit more because the spot price, as we just talked about, has went up quite a bit. Now, as you can see, it is a mixture of dimes, quarters, and half dollars. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me look through every single one of these coins. But what I will do is separate them into different piles. And then I will show you me weighing them out and making sure that we got our full value. So when I bought this, like I said yesterday, spot price was $38.20. And what I actually paid per dollar was $26.90. And if you want to grab a calculator and do the math, that's actually a little bit back of spot yesterday and a lot of it back of it today. All right, here we go. Hey everyone, I wanted to pause the video for just a minute to make a very exciting announcement because this month I'm going to be partnering with Whatnot to put on the biggest virtual coin show ever. Now in this coin show you'll have streamers, you'll have YouTubers like myself, and you'll have coin shops all having auctions, sales, specials, giveaways, and so much more. And I am going to be included. In fact, my show is going to be on August 30th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time with over 100 lots, $500 or more worth of giveaways, and so much more. Now, if you've never used Whatnot before, make sure you scan this QR code right here or click the link in the description below because new buyers will get $15 off their first purchase and you'll be helping out my channel at the same time. And by the way, a lot of the streams are going to have a special on 1 gram gold bars at just $99 during the show. That will be below melt price at today's numbers. So go check it out. Make sure you click the link, scan the QR code, and I hope to see you in my show. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so the first thing I did is sorted out the half dollars, and I actually got a really good mix of Walkers, Benjis, which is easily the biggest pile, and 1964 Kennedys. Now this is really good because as I said in my previous video, some people's concern with buying 90% is that these slicks, like some of these right here, you actually lose quite a bit of silver. So what we're gonna do is find out how much face value we have in each pile, and then we're gonna do some math to figure out how much silver should be there and see how close to that number we actually are. And we'll go ahead and get started with the Kennedys. Now there are 19 of them here, which means we have $9.50 face value. So if we take our 9.5 times 0.715, that means we should have roughly 6.79 ounces of silver in our Kennedys. That being said, I think it's going to be a little bit more because remember, 0.715 is already a number that is adjusted to account for a little bit of wear. So let's see if we get our 6.79 by putting them on the scale. And as you can see, we have 7.645 ounces. So we take 7.645 times 0.9, and what we actually have is 6.88. If we subtract from that our 6.7925, you can see we do have a little bit more silver than we expected. So that is really good. Our Kennedys definitely add up. Now, as for the Benjis, it looks like we have exactly 50 of them, which means we have $25 face value. And if we take 25 times 0.715, that means we should end up with 17.875 ounces. So let's go ahead and weigh our Benjis. And you can see we come up with 20.025 ounces. So if we take 20.025 times 0.9, we get 18.022. And if we subtract that our 17.875, we are actually over by about 0.15 ounces. So again, our Benjis have done a good job at holding up versus what we expect to get. But will that be the same with the walkers? Now it turns out we have ourselves 33 walking Liberty half dollars, which comes up to $16.50 face. So if we take 1650 times 0.715, you can see we should come up with 11.7975 ounces after removing the copper. Let's go ahead and weigh them and see what we have. And as you can see, we have 13.03 ounces. So we'll remove that copper, 13.035 times 0.9. And actually, we're a little bit low. We were expecting 11.79 and only wound up with 11.73. So even though our walking Liberties looked really good, they have pretty solid rims for being circulated Liberties, we actually lost a little bit of our silver. Okay, so we have our half dollars done, and if you weren't keeping count, we ended up with $51 in face value in 90% silver half dollars. Now we're gonna go ahead and sort out the quarters and the dimes. Okay, so we got a lot of Washington quarters. These are $5 face piles, which means 20 per pile. So we have 168 total. There's 8 piles plus 8 extra. But we only had 12 standing Liberty quarters. And the standing Liberty quarters are pretty slick. So I would bet that we do not have anywhere close to our 0.715 out of these. But we're gonna go ahead and find out. And we'll start with the Washington quarters because some of the quarters were pretty slick as well, like this 1941. Okay, so our scale is now ready. Let's go ahead and start piling these on. And our first stack is 15.885. And our final stack, including the extra few that were right here, comes out to 17.5. So let's start by taking our $42 in face value and then multiplying it by 0.715 to see that we should have 30.03 ounces after removing the copper. And if we add our 15.885 plus 17.5 and then multiply it by 0.9 to remove the copper, we actually come up with 30.04. So it looks like our Washington quarters, including our heavily circulated ones, did pass the test of 0.715. But I don't think our SLQs were, and we're gonna do that right now. So we have 12 of these, which means $3 face. So we'll take 3 times 0.715, and we should come up with 2.145 ounces. And if we throw this on the scale, you see we have 2.3. Now, if we take 2.3 times 0.9, that's quite a bit below our 2.145 ounces. In fact, we're missing close to 1/10 of an ounce. So I know I spoke about it in the video the other day, but this is exactly what people are talking about when they're worried about losing silver value with slicks like this. That being said, I'm still pretty confident that my entire amount of silver is here because we have a lot more Benjis, Kennedys, and Washingtons than we do SLQs and Walkers. But we still need to go through the dimes. So let's sort these out by Mercuries and Roosevelt dimes and see what we have. Okay, so we have the dimes sorted out, and it appears that we actually have more Mercury dimes than Roosevelts, but that's not necessarily a good thing because a lot of our Mercury dimes look like this. You can see they are heavily circulated. We are probably missing some silver in our Mercs. Hopefully our Roosevelts make up for it though, so let's go ahead and weigh them. And by the way, we have 67 Roosevelt dimes, which is $6.70 face. So if we grab our calculator and take 6.7 times 0.715, you can see we should come up with around 4.79 ounces of silver. And now that our scale's ready, let's go ahead and throw them on. All right, we have all of our Roosevelt dimes on the scale, except for this one, which I'll put on in a second, but this one's pretty rough. That took some damage. But it looks like we have 5.37 ounces. So if we take 5.37 times 0.9 to remove the copper, you see we come up with 4.833. So minus our 4.79, we get an extra 0.043 ounces. But I don't think that's going to be the same with our Roosevelt dimes. So we have 89 Mercury dimes. Let's go ahead and weigh them up. And you can see we have 6.77 ounces before we remove the copper. Now, if we take our calculator, we can take our 8.9 and see that we are expecting to have 6.36 ounces. But if we take our 6.775 and multiply it by 0.9, we get only 6.0975. Subtract our 6.3635 that we expected, and we are missing a full 1/4 ounce of silver. So we most definitely took a major hit in silver on our Mercury dimes, but it's possible that overall it adds up. And I've been writing all of this down, so let's find out. So you can see we expected to find, using 0.715, 79.7935 ounces. And what we actually got was 79.681. So it does appear that we are a little light, and in fact, if we take our expected 79.7935 away, you can see we are missing roughly about a 1/10 ounce of silver. It's really not too bad. It's around $4 in today's value, but still, we did not get our 0.715. And I think most of that is because of the Mercury dimes. I think overall on the quarters and definitely the half dollars, we did just fine. But we had some incredibly circulated Mercury dimes, and I think that's why a lot of people tend to avoid Mercury dimes when they're stacking 90% silver for just the silver value. So to summarize for all of you that didn't want to follow me through all that math, I'm actually up quite a bit. So we have $111.60 face value, which I paid just over $3,000 for, about $3,002. Now, at spot value, when I bought it yesterday, it was actually worth more like $3,040. But today, because of the spot price jump, it's now worth $3,120. So given that I paid $3,000 for it and it's already worth $3,120 is pretty great. So anyway, I know many of you were wondering what else I picked up. So let's go ahead and show that to you right now. Okay, so some of the other stuff I picked up was a bunch of blue Ikes. Now, I got these really close to melt, but a little bit under. Yesterday, again, before today's spot price rise, these were melting for $11.25. I was able to pick up 16 of these for $11 a piece. So definitely wanted to take advantage of those, and they all have the original envelope, as well as, of course, the coin. These are very nice. So very happy to pick those up for below melt price, especially given that they are complete. And then I was also able to pick up 6 of these, and you can see these are some of the Olympic commemoratives. These are incredibly common, no argument there, but for just $29 a piece, that is, again, slightly below melt value. And again, I was not going to say no to some proof commemorative silver dollars, still in the original capsules for under melt. Now, something else I picked up was these. These are kind of cool, and what they are is they're 2.12 ounces if you throw them on a scale. And then if you obviously multiply by 0.925 because they're sterling, it's a little bit less than 2 ounces of silver. And I was able to actually pick these up for 70 a piece. That is like $5 or so below their melt value. So they're neat. They're big, they're heavy, they have these capsules. And I figured for that cheap, I can't say no. That was the best deal I got as far as versus silver value. But I also picked up some of these. Now these here, I did actually pay more than silver for, but not by a whole lot. So these I paid $49 a piece for, but keep in mind, these are not 1 ounces, but they're actually 1.25 ounce rounds. You can see they're 1.25 ounce Guinea 999 silver. These were really cool. There's 16 in a roll, and of course 16 of them at 1.25 ounces each means I picked up 20 ounces of silver for $784. So if we take our $784 and then divide it by 20 ounces of silver, you can see I paid $39.20, or basically $1 an ounce over spot. That said, right now silver is sitting at right at around $39.20, so I now have these at spot. So I did really well on these. And then finally, the last thing I picked up was 3 of these. But before I open them up and show them to you, I do want to say one more time, earlier I talked about my Whatnot stream. Well, while I was recording this video today, I actually got my package in that I was waiting for, and this is the 31 gram gold bars that I will have available on my stream at $99 each. So I'll probably do these in like 3 or 4 drops. So in other words, at one point I'll, put up 5 or 10, we'll figure that out. But either way, all 30 of these I will sell at $99 a pop during my show. So if you guys haven't set a reminder for the show on Whatnot yet, I'll put a link for it in the description below. And yeah, I'm really excited to have you guys there and support my first Whatnot show. To be fun to see how it goes. But anyway, back to the last 3 things. We picked up some common date CC GSAs. So let's open them up and take a look. So you can see right here we have an 83. It looks pretty decent. It's not perfect. There's a little bit of discoloration here on this side. It's got its COA. It's got the original box. The back looks really nice, but that's actually really typical with 83 CC GSAs. The back always looks better than the front. I guess I can't say always, but it's really common. It's more often than not, the front looks a lot worse than the back. If we open up this one, you can see we have an 82. Now this one has a lot of chatter on the cheek, but it looks good color-wise. And then the reverse looks really good as well. We'll put that one back. And then finally, that was an 82, the 83, so this one's gonna be the 84. And you can see right there, we have an 1884 Carson City GSA. And this one, a little bit of chatter on the cheek as well, and a pretty big scuff in front of the face. But once again, the back looks absolutely gorgeous. And if you guys are wondering what I picked these up for, I got them for $220 each. So they're worth around $250. I'm happy to get them for that price. And I don't know, maybe these might end up in that whatnot. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. But guys, again, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video today, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. I would appreciate you making sure you're subscribed down below, because that really helps the channel out. And other than that, like I said, I hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.